Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to the Krista Chronicles, and today we are going to be going over how do I word this? Like the decks I have been using but also am interested to try for a new practice I've been doing. So I guess let's start with said new practice. I think I've mentioned this in other videos. I don't know. I just feel like I have. But I got another new journal other than my daily tarot journal when I got my last Archer and Olive order, specifically for wanting to do this kind of practice. So here is the notebook. She's a long girl. And so what I've been doing is a card of the week. So where did this idea come from? It came from thinking about the idea of doing a deck study, getting to know a deck better, and just the ways I've seen it done, just knowing, and the ways I've also tried based on like what I see, how other people go about doing like a deck study, just doesn't work for me. Because I have trouble sticking with something that really gets so specific like that for a long time. So what I notice is the things I can stick with are things that provide routine, but allow for variation within that. So like my morning tarot readings, I mean, I've stuck to it for pretty much almost the way I've been doing it anyway. I've done it for years, but the way I've specifically been doing it, I've been doing for a year, if not more now. So I can stick to things when they provide routine, but I use different decks every day. So, but I like the idea of really getting to know some decks. And so I thought like, oh, if I did a weekly card, that could be a way to get to know whatever kind of deck I want to get to know. But then I also liked the idea of having this one card that could kind of be a through line for both my morning readings, but then have another spot to just record and journal about other readings I do, because I get weird about that other notebook. It's just my morning readings and I just can't seem to get put in other stuff. That's just what it's for. So I wanted another notebook to truly just put in whatever. So it's pretty much readings around that weekly card. So I always leave this blank and just fill it with random stuff because I don't like writing on it. But yeah, so it's just, that was my first one. Random readings. I do moon readings in here. Anyway, so that's kind of the ordeal here. So from that, I've kind of just been really thinking about the decks that feel kind of conducive to that kind of practice to me, and I thought I would share. I have two that I've tried so far, and then I've got a group of things I've been thinking about. Now, obviously, you can truly use any deck as like a weekly card pull. So I'm not at all trying to say like these are the ones that are the best. Not at all the purpose of this video. This is truly just me showing you like, ooh, these are what I'm interested in using in this practice, like in a weekly pull kind of way where I'm just pulling a card for the week and then I do readings around that card. So these are, like, I have some different categories here. We're also kind of going through the process of what do I want to use this week? Because initially this started as like I kind of want to pick one deck and just for a while use that as my weekly draw. I don't know if that's realistic for me. Actually, I know that's not realistic for me. Don't even need to add I don't know. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a selection that feel right in this current moment, that depending on my mood for the week, I can pick from. So let's start with the two that I have used. Starting with the Nameless one, Tarot Oracle. I've got all the cards mixed together in here. This was the first deck I tried out, and used it for a few weeks in a row, and really enjoyed how it worked. We need to zoom out a little, don't we? Yeah, okay. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Now this is one, I got it probably, again, almost a year ago now. And I really, really like it. But it does feel like one that doesn't necessarily suit towards a daily pull. Like, I don't know, it just feels like there's a lot going on, a lot to think about. And so I've got a few categories of decks in here, and I'm not going to try and like categorize them beforehand. I'm just going to explain it as I go, what falls where. This to me falls into the category of something I look for sometimes in a weekly draw kind of deck, or like an extended period of time. In that, it's got a very extensive guidebook, and there is a story to get into, a lot of things going on in the card to get into. And so this category of deck I like for a weekly pull because it gives me a whole week to kind of think about the message in here. I apologize if there is weird background noise. Someone somewhere so close by is getting some kind of construction done. So I'm hearing like so many of those like backup truck beeps. I don't know. Anyway. Yes, so this kind of deck, again, because there's just like a lot to get into. It has a story to each card. I like using it in this sort of like longer term way than just for the day, because the way this reads for me is it extends longer than a day. I'm hoping that makes sense. Obviously, if this works for you as a daily, super cool. But for me, I think it's like when you really get this extensive story, it just feels bigger. So I really liked using this for a few weeks. I think it's perfect also for this time of year because it's kind of witchy and darker. So you'll notice that in this selection I have too, is there's definitely some brighter, more colorful decks that I really like in this kind of way, but we're talking the current moment. So yes, really liked this one as a weekly draw deck. I guess I should say too, I have the big guidebook, the Grimoire, you can get with it. Ooh, that was a clunk. Okay, now the other... So much noise they're making. Okay, the other deck I have tried is the Mysteries of the Black Madonna Tarot, which actually I think there is a pre-order going on at the current moment. I'll have links for everything as usual below, but I will link to her website because I do believe there is a pre-order going on for this deck. Now this is another one that fits in the category of it just feels like a big energy behind it. So if you haven't seen this deck before, each of these cards is a kind of like diorama style altar that the creator has made for each of these cards, representing a Black Madonna statue somewhere throughout the world. And so she has connected these real statues out in the world and the stories of these statues to the tarot. However, because it is a little bit more abstract in terms of the relation to the tarot, it is definitely there, absolutely there. But I think, again, because there's just a lot to get into for each card, and it's very... what's the word I'm looking for? Symbolic question mark? It's a thinker. That's I feel like that's how I describe these kinds of decks. Like, they are a thinker. You just, me personally, I have to put some more time into kind of getting a grasp of the message and seeing how it plays out. So, same category for me as the Nameless one, where it feels like a bigger energy, there's a lot to get into, but I also like, this is also one that I think this deck just feels really special to me. Same with the Nameless one. both pricey decks, very pricey decks, I should say that. So they feel special for that alone, but then also just like the way they're made, the subject matter, they just feel very special. Not to say that my other decks aren't, but I don't know. Again, it's this bigger energy that feels like it needs a bit more space held for it than maybe some decks I really love for daily polls. And so I actually used this past week and really liked that as well. I'm realizing I feel like I'm gonna have a hard time picking what I'm gonna use for this week. I pull them Monday afternoons typically. But yeah, I really like this one. I have the Mysteries of Mary too, which feels more like a spring summer, where this is kind of getting into that fall winter energy. So yeah, really like this one as a weekly pull. That is the Mysteries of the Black Madonna. Okay, let's get into another one that feels like it's a bigger energy than what could be used personally for a daily poll, and that is the Weaver's Oracle. Now this one though, I really have to be in the right mood and headspace for it, because the Nameless one and the Mysteries of the Black Madonna, to me, feel a little bit more straightforward. It's more that I want to give the message more time and space, not that I necessarily need that time and space to interpret the possible meaning. This feels different in that it just often takes me a lot of time to really even get the message and to see it unfold. Like, I don't even think, for me, how this reads, it would be possible to use as a daily pull deck, because it just really truly takes me a lot of time to get to the bottom of it, if that makes sense, because it's all told completely in a unique story for each of these cards. And there isn't a moment in the guidebook, at least how I have read it, where it says, like, here's what this story is meant to tell you. It really does feel like it's up to me to figure that out, and a lot of times it takes me a lot of time to do that. I've seen people even use this one as a card of the month, like where you take a whole month to really think about it. I think that would be cool, but ignore this card. I ruined it. I had it accidentally sitting on top of my like laser scanner, and it completely took the color away. Isn't that crazy? But that's okay. Still a usable card. Yeah. So this one is probably, of these here, feels like the biggest energy in terms of like it just needs the longest amount of time to me. But I think it would be really cool as a weekly poll. I think if I was in the right space. To me, this almost feels like maybe I would get into it more so in the winter time, use this as a weekly deck, where things are slower, life tends to be slower. And I tend to kind of crave these, like, I would say deeper things, but when I say that, to me, I think it's more just that I have to really think about it. It's not handing me the message, which is not really a quantification of depth, but I think that's just how I interpret that word sometimes. But yeah, I think this would be really cool as a weekly draw. If it wasn't clear, we are now getting into with this deck in the territory of, like, I've not used these in this way yet. At least with this new practice, but I just think they'd be cool. The first two are the only ones I've actually used in that journal starting this practice. Okay. Do I kind of want to keep going with that concept? I don't know. These are the ones I just kind of pulled out because I think they'd be cool. Let's just go in order in the basket. Phases and Forests. This one is pretty straightforward as to why I think it would be great for this. And it's because each card on the bottom, you've got the key word or words, phrase, question mark, I don't know. But you get a question at the bottom of every card. And I think decks that provide a question for you would be so cool to use as a weekly draw. And I think maybe, not that it would require less thinking, but I think it'd be cool in terms of like, it would be less of a focus. What am I trying to say here? I think with this kind of deck, what it would provide for me is needing to spend less time getting to the bottom of this card, and I can spend more time on the readings throughout the week to sort of see where that question leads, which I think would also be really cool. I should say too, I don't think I kind of said it not clearly. I pull this card for the week, and just throughout the week, whenever I'm feeling like it, I do a reading on it and journal about that as well. So yeah, I love that the questions are right on the cards. Like this one is nourish. In what ways do you feel you are lacking nourishment? How can you feed your soul? And I think this would be really cool, like too, if I had a week where I knew I was going to be really busy, or just there was going to be some kind of big event that I knew was just going to make me tired a lot of the week. I think this deck would be nice for that. Again, because I'm not going to need so much brain power to get to the bottom of this card, but also with this question, I wouldn't even necessarily feel like I have to do the extra readings around it, because it gives me something really solid to just think about, like very straightforward. Like, do you feel like you are in a season of giving or receiving? Why? I mean, that alone is just something to think about without needing to pull other cards around it. So this is what I really think this would be awesome for this purpose, and I'm kind of feeling like I might want to use this week. This is what sort of also kind of spurred me wanting to make this video, because I was like, oh, I think this would be really cool. I wonder what other decks would work, and if I had any others that asked questions. I'd be curious to know if you have decks that you know kind of ask a question in this way. It doesn't even need to be on the card. I have one other here that I know does it, but it's not on the card. I'd love to know. But yeah, that is the Phases and Forests. I think this would be really awesome for this purpose. So speaking of that, let's get into the other deck where I know it gives you basically like a journal prompt. The Creative Consciousness Healing. In the guidebook gives you, I actually think they call it, yeah, they give you an actual journal prompt, which is a question or a couple of questions. So, oh my gosh, I forgot I edged this in like bright pink. That's so fun. So I think this also would be really cool in the same exact way, honestly. Also, I really like that you get the title and this little phrase underneath it. So, and when I pull my card of the week, I also have it up on my desk on a little card stand for the whole weeks for me to look at. So I think another aspect I was trying to think of is, if I have this card out on my desk, is it going to prompt me to think about that message when I see it? So for this week, I did the Mysteries of the Black Madonna, and I have the Six of Holy Wells, which is the Six of Cups. And since it's, related to the tarot, and I can think off the top of my head what Six of Cups means to me, it did prompt me to think about that. But there were some decks where I was like, I don't think it would give me enough on the card where I wouldn't feel like I need to go back into the guidebook. Where this here, like with that last one, it had the question right on it, but this still gives you that key phrase that would remind me of what it is the focus is. I also like too that this one feels a little bit more colorful and childlike, because I think that is a vibe I often want. I go back and forth, or either I want something like this, or I want something that feels a little bit more youthful, I guess you could say. Because now, I'm gonna have a hard time choosing this week, because now I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, but cute. I've really been in this kind of space of just really, well, I mean, 6 of Cups week. Definitely leaning into nurturing that inner child. So this, I don't know, this one might be the vibe. But anyway, I think this would be awesome for that too. Creative consciousness healing. Alrighty. Okay, this one, I don't know, Divine Muses. I just think this could be cool. It gives you more of an archetype. But now, I don't know, because I do also like this as a daily draw deck. Do I think it does give enough though in the guidebook to be a weekly draw. But I'm looking at this right now. I love this deck, but I don't think it's exciting me to have it as one that's like out as a weekly draw. But I do think I want to pull it out for my daily draw. I do think this could be cool though. If this is one you have, I think it could be a cool weekly draw, but I don't know. I don't think this is it for this purpose. Divine Muses. We're gonna keep that out though for a daily draw deck. Okay, this one is the Animal Guide Oracle by Andy. Now this is another one where I think it would be really good for weeks where I'm not really in the mood to like get into a big guidebook, to really have to like get to the bottom of a card. This is a great deck for just a quick, like you pull the card and the message is right on it. Like that's what you're getting. But I like the idea that these animals each guide you to something, so it feels like this, with this deck, I do use it as a daily draw deck and it works great for that. But because it's like a will guide you to something, it sort of feels to me like I can use it in any time frame I want. So like with Mouse will guide you to the motivation to succeed. I can look at that in the time frame of like, okay, where do I find the motivation to succeed today? But I can also be like, okay, for this whole week, that's what I'm being asked to focus on. So it's a good one for just getting like a very clear-cut focus for the week, seeing where that comes up. Again, I think this would be really great if it was, again, a week where the brain just didn't want to brain in a certain way. Or if I knew I was going to be busy and maybe wasn't going to be able to get into some readings around it. This is one where it's like, even if I'm just sitting and thinking about it, like will guide you to transformation. Super easy for me to just sit and think of like, okay, well where is transformation coming up this week? Without necessarily feeling like I need to like pull out other cards and really get into it. But then I also could. You know what I mean? It would leave it really open to whatever it is I feel like doing that week. Where some decks, like to me the Nameless one, I felt like the extra readings throughout the week, like I really needed to do them, which was great and was what I was looking for, so perfect, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I think this would be a really awesome one. I think it's just so versatile and great. So that is the Animal Guide Oracle. Let's get into, I've got another animal deck here. Let's just look at that. The Wild Whiskers Spirit Animal Oracle. This, I think, again, very similar, where it would be a great card for having it be a little bit more straightforward, because I like that we get 3 keywords on each of these cards. So I definitely think this one could work as a card for the week. I do also like keeping this one out here, though, to use for the extra readings. So again, pretty versatile in that way. But I like the, what do they call that, alliteration you get, because it makes it memorable in my brain. Excuse all the marks. That is, excuse me, oh my gosh, my throat is clogging. I have like a little oil I made, like a divination oil I like putting on my hands before I pull cards, but then sometimes it gets all over my cards. Anyway, I think this would be good. Although I have to say, I've really liked using it for the readings around the main card, but I just feel like I would be able to, while I was going throughout my week, like if this was my card, I'd be like, oh, cautious crab. Like that is something that would stick in my brain, which could be good. I think it's worth a try, for sure. And also, doesn't it feel so cozy? I love this deck. Wild Whiskers Oracle. Okay. Now, what do I want to show here? I have this in the basket. I kind of just put it in. This is a really new one to me, the Mother Witch Oracle. And I don't know about this for a card of the week. Maybe though. No, I think this could be cool. I don't know. Again, I put it in here though, but I don't know this deck well enough to really say anything about it. So let's keep it moving. As you can see, there's really no plan here. Alright. We've got kind of like figures, deities in these last 3 I have to show. This one is the Fallen Angel Oracle, which I love this deck. I just, like, in general, really love it. But I've used this before when I had a brief stint of doing a card of the week, and it's fantastic for that because you get a very clear keyword. And so again, it's one that, like, the card of the, like, this itself doesn't necessarily need a ton of thought into it in terms of, like, what does this mean? Because you get it right on that card. And so why I like it too is that when it's sitting on my desk, I'm getting a very clear reminder of what it is I am focusing on for the week. But I also just love the vibe of this one. That's really also what it is. But then too, I do have fun then going into the demon on the card, the fallen angel on the card, and learning more about their story. So that's fun as well. And I also really like the guidebook for this one. I don't think it's nothing like crazy, but I just like it. So this one is kind of out just because, like, this time of year I really like to use it. And it's also one that works really well for, again, those like extra readings to do alongside. But I think it would work well as the main card for the week. If I just wanted like a straightforward keyword, a single keyword to think about, this is probably the one I would go towards. Okay, so these last two are ones that are deity decks that pretty much I would be focusing on the story and symbolism of that deity. So let's start with this one. This one is new to me, the Bestiary of Women by Hannah Tricoire. I don't know if I'm saying that right. This, I know there is a bigger book you can get. I'm thinking about it, but I just got this right now. So you do get a little synopsis of the, this is all goddesses, of the goddess and like a little bit about their story. And there is also, for 78 of the cards, there's like 100 I think in here, there is tarot association, so that's something as well. But then there's, of course, then a lot of cards that don't have that. So, oh, this is gonna make my lighting go weird. That's okay. And so I think, though, again, this is new to me. I've only used it a few times now, but really love it. I just really love the art style as well. Only thing I'm hesitant about with using it for card of the week is because there's no finish. It pretty much feels like nice cardstock, like true cardstock. There's not like a lamination or anything over it, so I think I'd be hesitant to just leave a card out for a whole week because I feel like I'd get it dirty somehow. I don't know. I haven't gotten any of my other cards dirty, but I just feel like it will happen if I put one of these out, so that's my only hesitation. But I mean, well, I do have a lot of other goddess decks though. We're gonna say this is a stand-in for goddess decks. I just really love these illustrations. But probably what I would do is just really get into the story of that goddess and just consider that throughout the week. I think that would be really cool as a card of the week. Yeah, we're gonna say that's a stand-in for just any. I've got so many goddess oracles, I pretty much would just use any of them. I think they would all do the job. Similar to this one, we've got the Hellenic Oracle. So let's look at that instead. And this, I think, would be especially cool because it doesn't have a... Oh my god, where did my words just go? It doesn't have a guidebook. I don't know what just happened in my brain. And so this would be really fun to... The theming around these decks is like, I would kind of just do my own research, read some stories, see the themes myself, which I think would be really fun as a card of the week. And so it'd be like kind of similar to that first set of cards where there's so much to get into, but this one it feels a bit more like self-exploratory, self-research, rather than getting into like this big huge story from the guidebook it comes with. So it's a different kind of like card that requires more work, you know what I mean? Than kind of that middle selection. But I love this deck so much. It works for daily draws. It works for everything. But I really think it'd be cool as a card of the week. I love the idea of spending a whole week with a certain deity. I think that'd be really fun. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do for this week, honestly. We shall have to see. But that was the last one I had to show. So, this might have been so all over the place. I truly have no idea. I didn't have a plan. I just kind of wanted to talk through my thoughts around this, since this is kind of a new practice for me, and we're just playing with it. Oh, I forgot. My other thought, saying playing just brought this to mind, is I think it would also be super fun to use one of the Witches oracles. What am I feeling? Like, we'll just pull out the OG. The Witches Familiars, like, wouldn't that be so fun? This would just be like if I just want to have fun for the week. The Witch's Wisdom. Ooh, that would be actually really, really fun. Maybe that's what I have to do this week. But yeah, as you can see, you really can use anything as a card of the week. So this was just my personal thought process behind what is it that I like to use as a card of weeks. Because, again, while my original purpose was like, pick a deck, use that deck for a couple weeks to really get to know it, I think thinking about how I go about things, I can't really look at it that way. So instead, I'm choosing to see it as what kinds of decks work for me in this practice. Like, seeing it again as like a practice, the practice as a whole, rather than focusing on what deck it is I'm using. So we're in an exploratory phase of trying out different kinds of oracles to see what really works, and probably it'll end up being a mixture of all the above, but those are the decks I kind of pulled out because I'm intrigued to try them out as a card of the week. So if you are a card of the week user, puller, what? I don't know. You know what I mean. If you like doing a similar thing, I'd love to know what decks you like to use for this purpose, or if you have any sort of practice where you are looking at a card for more than just a day, really, I'd love to know what it is you like to use, like what feels the most beneficial. But that's what I'm thinking about and / going to be using. That's all I got for today. So, other than that, I hope you're having a wonderful day so far, and I'll see you again very soon.